You hang up the Zoom call with IT and you take a deep breath. You know, this was not a good outcome. IT just told you that they need additional 4 more weeks due to COVID to set up a crucial system. You know right then and there that this means that your team will break the contract terms with a very important client. And you also know that your boss will talk to that very client later in the morning. You know she's also in the office like you on rotation. You want to approach her, you already got up from your chair. But then you remember that she told the team a few weeks ago in a stern way, "Don't bring me problems anymore, just bring me solutions." So you sit back down on your chair and you spend the next 60 minutes crafting a number of possible responses, none of which honestly feel right and convincing. Eventually you summon your strengths and you do approach your boss, who sits a few rows away, to share the problem and the solutions that you were able to come up with. What is your boss's response? "You learned this a few hours ago? Why didn't you tell me? I could have actually come up with something else. Now there's no more time to do anything and to even think this through. Let me get down to this. Thanks anyway." Let's stop here. What happened here? We have 2 parties here, the boss and the team member, who both had positive intent, yet the outcome was not great. Let's talk about this and the side effect of a popular thing that leaders are proud to say. "Don't bring me problems, bring me solutions." See you back in a moment.
Welcome to the Coaching Leader Podcast, specially crafted for the ears of ambitious people leaders who want to take their own communication skills to a whole new level. We are the home of the IntelliCoach Leader Academy. We are on a mission to give leaders an edge with the most powerful skills of executive coaches so that they can create strong, trusting relationships with their team members, their peers, and yes, their own bosses. And here is Mike, your host. Let's get started.
Welcome back. So this is Mike from IntelliCoach.com. So today we're talking about this very popular thing that I heard many leaders proudly say. "Don't bring me problems, bring me solutions." And it seems to be a very common thing for leaders to say this in this day and age. And it is, as I said in my intro, with good intent. Because it's a response by leaders who see that there might be a habit of complaining and negativity in their team's approaches. That team members might come to you as a leader and they clearly have not spent a moment to think things through. So what you're doing instead is you tell them, "Don't come to me in this state of mind. Put a bit more rigor in. Put a bit more effort. Think things through first. Bring me solutions and not problems." Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, and I shared as a simple example in the intro, this thinking can have negative side effects. The simplest way is that your team member does not have a solution. And in that case, what happens is that you don't learn about the problems they are facing because they simply fear being reprimanded, simply fear of also a solution maybe not being perfect. And the problem then might sit around until it becomes urgent and dire, until you again have to jump into firefight, but here again in a more urgent manner. I remember a definition of what a great team is. And that definition was that you recognize a great team because they identify problems early and they bring them out in the open early and share them. That signifies a culture where sharing a problem once you're aware of it feels safe and you don't feel reprimanded. What it prevents is that if problems are not shared and if they are not brought in the open, we are likely ending up with a lot more emergencies, with a lot more firefighting. And that's, in my experience, based on what I hear talking to leaders out there, is what many people face. So what can we do instead? Well, as a leader, you clearly want to still get to the same outcome. And the outcome is that you have a right to expect that your team members think things through. That's very valid because you hired them for bringing in ideas, bringing in thoughts, and sharing options and solutions. Now, what you want to encourage is a culture that team members do approach you and it is safe for them to share problems. However, you also don't want to let them off the hook. Now, and there's a question that I shared in this very podcast, I think it was episode 9, that I want to share here again as one possible way how to approach this. Instead of saying, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions, you can, for example, say, well, I do understand the problem. What do you recommend based on your best judgment at this moment? And that is different to bring me a solution in a variety of ways. Firstly, it allows for imperfection, and it does not assume a perfect solution from your team member. It does not require it. And it, secondly, shows a living coaching mindset in the leader who believes that their team members have valuable recommendations to share. It is a very respectful way to respond. It also, number 3, trains team members to think and to exercise judgment. And if you, as a leader, train your people to expect the question, what is your recommendation in this moment? You put them in a little bit of a healthy discomfort because they will learn that they will not get a simple answer from you and that they have to come out and be open with their thinking first and contribute. It gives you also, number 4, a first-hand opportunity to observe your team members' quality of thinking. And that gives you valid data that contributes to your assessment of their performance. And really over time, number 5, if you use this method consistently, it leads to team members thinking things through better and helping them approach their challenges because they will at least have to come to you with a recommendation. And in turn, that hopefully saves you some time in the end. And there's one caveat here, of course, because all this requires that you ask your team members in a spirit of collaboration and partnership. It will break your trust if your team members learn that their contributions are just shot down or they're being judged right away for their recommendations. And here's a little bonus. What is a good follow-up question that you can ask your team member right after they shared your recommendation? Well, for example, wow, that's something I would not have come up with. In your view, what makes this a really good recommendation? How will this achieve our goal? This kind of question gently probes people's thinking on their rationale and supports them in thinking it through further. So, to close this episode, as a leader, well, we can't always expect perfect solutions from our people right away. I even find it downright dangerous because it cuts you off from people feeling safe to share about problems that are just emerging, that could be fixed at a much lower cost than later before they become emergencies. However, as a leader, well, you should expect thought through recommendations. Hopefully this little nugget is useful to you. The next time, thinking about finding the right balance between having your people think through things before they come to you and making sure all important problems reach you so you can contribute as well as a leader. All the best. This is Mike from IntelliCoach.
You've been listening to the Coaching Leader Podcast. To ensure you never miss an episode or other updates from us, head over to IntelliCoach.com/connect. Here you will find our magic link to subscribe to our podcast, and you can get our newsletter. You will get show notes and other special insights directly into your inbox. Thanks a lot for listening. Hear you soon.
Hello again. So here's the not so secret extra part to this podcast that is not related to really content, but more personal sharing. Maybe some updates, some announcements, some insights. I have not been doing this for the last 3 sessions simply because I didn't have the time. Or I shouldn't say that. I prioritized. Well, you have noticed that there are quite a few changes around here. The podcast sounds different. I've been upgrading the audio, the intro, and you may have noticed the IntelliCoach Leader Academy. Now, what is that? Well, it is my new baby. And that is what I'm announcing to you today here. I've been working towards this point for a long time, since I've set foot in the first coaching school when I started to get acquainted with the International Coach Federation. You can see the first 45 episodes of this podcast as like an appetizer. Appetizer, what's going to come next? Because over the next few weeks and months, this podcast will change and will become very intentional. It will be the same kind of content, but it will be very specific. And the content will be a direct reflection of things I am teaching as part of a program I'm going to run from the end of the year. It's called, as I said, the IntelliCoach Leader Academy. And it is a program targeted at current and aspiring people leaders. In it, I'm trying to achieve two things. Well, I'm trying to help them become coaches. And people who go into that program will become a certified coach with the International Coaching Federation. Secondly, they will learn to use coaching skills. And that is not the same thing. Becoming a coach and coaching skills is not the same thing. The difference in this program will be that the participants will learn directly how to use these coaching skills that they learn to improve their relationships with their stakeholders, to help them build trust, to help them become stronger player in the organization that they are in. And those skills are being present, being somebody who observes without judgment, being somebody who shares feedback in a way that doesn't bring people up in arms. It's somebody who is comfortable establishing accountability. It's somebody who listens really well. It's somebody who communicates in a very concise and articulate way so that other people get clarity and not confusion out of talking to them. And over the next few weeks, I will bit of redo the second part of the podcast into an update. I will simply share how I developed this program. If you are not interested, then just don't listen to it. It's completely fine. I will continue to use this second part of the podcast as a personal sharing. And a number of people who I've interviewed for my new program already shared that they are excited to be involved early in the process. And I will simply continue. And you may be interested in seeing how does this kind of program get developed from the start. Because I am still at the very beginning. So over the next couple of weeks and months, I will go a bit deep and I will share what I do, what works, and also what didn't, and what I learned from it. I'll be very open here, and I will co-develop this program with you, my listeners. And I will also offer you to become part of the journey. So this is just a heads up, an announcement to share with you what does that mean? What is that IntelliCoach Leader Academy that I mentioned in the new intro? Yeah, it's an exciting new program that will start towards the end of the year. Stay tuned. So this is an excited Mike. You also heard that I introduced a new intro music. I really liked it. I've been looking around a lot for a music that really carries the vibes that I wanted to. And I ended up with this one. I really liked it. I have multiple versions, a shorter, a medium, and a longer version. And towards the end of this extra section, I will play the longer version. I feel the vibes of it and the way the music plays shows a bit how I feel about this program too. All the best. So this is Mike from IntelliCoach. I'll talk to you soon.